This material nature is my inferior prakriti. This is Krishna speaking. But beyond this is another prakriti, jiva bhutam, the living entity. Material nature, now Prabhupada explains, material nature itself is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Above these modes, there is eternal time, and by a combination of these modes of nature, and under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activity. For instance, suppose I am a businessman and I've worked very hard with intelligence and have amassed a great bank balance. Then I am an enjoyer, but then say I have lost all my money in business. Then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of our work or we suffer the results. This is called karma. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, Jiva, the living entity, Prakriti, nature, Kala, eternal time, and Karma, activity, are all explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Out of these five, namely, the Lord, the living entities, material nature, and time are eternal. The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but is not false. Some philosophers say that the manifestation of material nature is false, but according to philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, or according to the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, this is not so. The manifestation of this world is not accepted as false. It is accepted as real, but temporary. It is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky. On the coming of the rainy season, which nourishes grains, which nourishes grains. As soon as the rainy season is over, and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at a certain interval, stays for a while, and then disappears. Such are the workings of Prakriti. But this cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal. It is not false. The Lord refers to this as my Prakriti. This material nature is the separated energy of the Supreme Lord, and similarly, the living entities are also the energy of the Supreme Lord, although they are not separated, but eternally related. For the Lord, the living entity, human nature, and time are all interrelated and are all eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal.
You can keep that on in a swing also, I think, right?
Therefore, the effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering the results of our activities from time immemorial. But we can change the results of our karma or our activity, and this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all these activities. But this is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, let's just stop here for a moment. This is a lot of information. So Prakriti is the material nature, and it's a separated energy of the Supreme Lord. And similarly, the living entities are also the energy of the Supreme Lord, although they are not separated, but eternally related. So, the Lord, the living entity, material nature, and time are all interrelated and are all eternal. And that's important. It's a very important point. Of course, Krishna is eternal. The jiva is eternal. The material nature is eternal. And time is eternal. However, karma is not eternal. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, karma is activity that we perform. And if it was eternal, we'd be in big trouble. But it's not eternal. That means that you can change your karma or eliminate it. Then you're no longer in the material world. You go back to Godhead. So karma means actions. Now, the actions that we perform can be good, bad, or mixed, somewhat good, somewhat bad, and so forth. But there's such a thing as akarma. That means acting without any reaction, either good or bad. That is Krishna consciousness. When we learn that it's possible to act without any reaction. Why? Well, when we offer everything to Krishna that we do, and Krishna accepts it, then that is akarma. It's activity without good or bad reactions. So we have to learn the difference between karma, which are actions according to the Vedas, but with the desire to enjoy the results. Vikarma, which is sinful reactions, and akarma, which are actions without any reactions, either good or bad. So, Krishna consciousness, when it's properly functioning, is akarma. There's no positive result, there's no negative result, but there is transcendental activity. So that transcendental activity means that everything we do should be an offering to Krishna. And if Krishna accepts it, then we are acting transcendentally. Here it says, so the Lord, the living entity, material nature, and time, all interrelated and are all eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial, but we can change the results of our karma or our activity, and this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. Very important statement. It all depends on the knowledge. So, what kind of knowledge are we talking about? So there's so many different types of knowledge. So, someone says, well, I'm in college and I'm learning knowledge. Wait a minute. What do you mean you're learning knowledge? Knowledge, real knowledge, is something that will help you liberate yourself from the cycle of birth and death. Are you learning that kind of knowledge? Or are you learning the knowledge, so-called knowledge, of the sense gratifiers, which will keep you in the cycle of birth and death? So, there's a difference between transcendental knowledge and mundane knowledge. Mundane knowledge is how to eat, sleep, mate, and defend. Transcendental knowledge is how to please Krishna and go back to Godhead. In the meantime, You eat, sleep, mate, and defend according to Krishna consciousness. So you're not getting contaminated by those maintenance of the body activities. And those activities are there, the eat, sleep, mate, and defend. So mate means sex. So they are activities, but if they can be performed simply for the service of Krishna, then you do not have any karmic reaction. But when it's done selfishly, then there's a karmic reaction, and we get stuck in the cycle of birth and death. Okay, so the effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial, but we can change the results of our karma or our activity, and this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. That's why we're reading Bhagavad Gita, because that knowledge is being given by which we can attain perfection of our life by perfect knowledge. So it says, we are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all these activities. But this is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita will explain to us what is real knowledge, what is real activity by which we can be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So this is the most important subject matter if you want to be educated. The position of Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas, or the living entities, being parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also conscious. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as prakriti. What? Because prakriti means, what is being controlled. The energy of the Supreme Lord, but one of the two, the jiva, is conscious. The other, prakriti, is not conscious. What is the difference? Therefore, jiva prakriti is called superior because the jiva has consciousness which is similar to the Lord's. The Lord's is supreme consciousness, however, and one should not claim that the jiva, the living entity, is also supremely conscious. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection. And the theory that he can be so is a misleading theory. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious. The distinction between the jiva and the Ishvara will be explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagwad Gita. The Lord is Chitragya conscious. Chitragya conscious, as is the living being, but the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas the Lord is conscious of all bodies, because he lives in the heart of every living being. Now that's very important to know. Let's say you have a heart surgery. Does the surgeon see Krishna? No. Does he see your soul? No. Because there are some mystical things in this world. So, although he's a doctor, although he can, open you up and look around, and he knows the anatomy of the body, but he doesn't know where the soul is. He doesn't see it. Does that mean there's no soul? Well, in the eyes of the mundane, let's say scholars and mundane surgeons and so forth, who perform a lot of surgery, heart surgery and so forth, they'll say, well, I never saw the soul. So how can you say it exists? There are many things that we don't see but exist. So how do you find out? You have to come to Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is going to explain all the essential things that you're not seeing, but actually exist and are controlling our lives. That's why you read a book. Without reading a book, you have no way of knowing certain things. You have no way of experimenting to find those things. Now, there are books and there are books, but Bhagavad Gita is the number one book in the entire history of the world because it's Krishna speaking about himself, explaining to Arjuna who he is and answering Arjuna's questions about who he is. So there's no greater book than this. So every book is not equal. And Bhagavad Gita is, and Prabhupada says this in the introduction, this is the greatest literature for making spiritual advancement. That's why we're reading it. Because most people will say, well, that's, I can't earn any money by reading Bhagavad Gita. That's not true either. If you read Bhagavad Gita and understand it, you'll be able to not only have a good life with all necessities provided by Krishna himself. In fact, let's take a look at what Krishna says in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He says, one second, find it. Chapter 10th verse. Tesam satata nityanam pachitam priti purvakam dadami buddhiyogamitam yenamam upantete. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they come to me. Tesam ivanukam partam aham adyanajam tama nasyami atmabhavastu Jnanadipena Vasrato. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Now, these two verses are really important if you want to understand how we can be educated. So in the purport to 10:10, it says, in this verse, the word Buddhi Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things, that he would instruct him in the way of Buddhi Yoga. Now, Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness and devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yoga. In other words, Buddhi Yoga is a process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. So now this is real knowledge. It continues, when a person knows the goal of life, but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. So what does yoga mean? Yoga is connecting to God. What's the highest yoga? Buddhi yoga or bhakti yoga. And it says this complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. So we have to understand this. Just like in life, we're always going to try and strive to live the best that we can. And to have, good things going on in our life and hopefully be protected by the mercy of God. That's the best protection you could ever have. It's the best insurance policy you can get if Krishna protects you. So, how do we get there? Well, it says, therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. So that's what the ultimate goal is, to go back to Godhead, to leave the material world and go to the spiritual world in your spiritual, transcendental, eternal body and engage in loving activities of Krishna consciousness. Now let's talk about that. Sometimes people say, I don't want to live forever. Because what you're thinking of is, let's say they're older now, and they might have a heart problem, they might have this problem, that problem. So they're thinking, if I lived forever, I'd be suffering forever in this body. They don't have any idea what it means to be eternal. And they would say, and I'd be bored because, there's just so many things that you can do to be happy. And then, it gets to be same old, same old, same old. Well, that's in the material world, yes. Things become hackneyed or overdone too many times and then they're boring. But that's not what's going on in the spiritual world. So we need to understand the difference between the spiritual world and the material world. The material world, everything is limited, and oftentimes people are forced in situations they don't like, and sometimes they want to commit suicide because there's too much pain, too much trouble, too much misery, too much hard work or whatever, and they would prefer to die. Now that's a bad solution because you never, when you die, everything is not over. That's you see, it's committing suicide is one of the most sinful things a person can do. Why? Because the body belongs to Krishna. People who commit suicide, they think they own the body, and if they want to destroy the body, they can do it. No. The body belongs to Krishna, and because it belongs to Krishna, it should only be used in Krishna's service. Therefore, if people decide that they want to destroy the body, that is one of the most sinful things a person can do. Whether you destroy your body or you want to destroy someone else's body, very, very sinful. And you suffer terribly. And you don't die. Just the body disappears, and now you're stuck in the body of a ghost. And you don't have a gross body, you have a subtle body, but you have gross material desires, and you're frustrated, worse than how much you were frustrated when you were in a body. If you want to know what frustration is, become a ghost. It's enough to drive anybody crazy, and it's a hopeless situation. It's like being in solitary confinement. You know what that is. I hope you never have solitary confinement in jail. You're sitting in a very small jail, and you're alone, and you get some food a couple times in a day. You don't see the sun. There's one little light that always stays on. And then you can't turn it off. And if you don't behave properly, then you're going to hear very bad music all the time. They purposely put the music on, so you can't even sleep. I mean, it's the worst thing in the world to be in jail, and because already you did something wrong to get into jail. But if in jail you don't cooperate, you can end up in solitary confinement, which is like, being in the worst condition, and it's like you go crazy in solitary confinement. They don't turn the lights off. There might be music going on all the time, really loud, and music that you don't like. And you only eat a little bit of food, and it's just enough to keep you alive, right? And you don't have a chance to read a book. You don't have a chance to do anything except suffer. Now, how do I know all about this? I've never been in jail, but I can explain it because I've read about it. Let's put it like that, right? So. But we're in jail now anyway. We're in the jail of a material body that's subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. So we're in jail too. It's not just the people that commit a crime and they go to jail. The material world is a jail. And it's full of, a lot of misery. So the Bhagavad Gita here is trying to help us get free of all this misery and live a productive life of Krishna consciousness. Okay.
Maharaj,
Yeah,
time.
that's time. Okay.
So, Cody.
Any questions? Yeah.
So I just want to differentiate between what is external energy and marginal energy. I know Bhagavad Gita says that marginal energy jiva tattva, where we souls are jivas, and then external energy is the prakriti. But when a prakriti is also all, for example, all the like trees, animals, everything, our body, everybody have a source. Those are considered as a marginal energy. Then what is mean prakriti there? If most of things out of material nature are part of material marginal energy, what is external energy? That which is prakriti, what Bhagavad Gita says here.
Okay. So we are the external energy is the material nature.
Yes, that is prakriti.
The marginal energy is talking to
Jiva
people.
tattva.
Huh?
Jivas.
Jiva tattva. Yeah. So what is your question?
Then in a external energy is called a trees, but prakriti means nothing but the trees or human beings or animals all together is a prakriti, or what is prakriti means here?
What is external energy or material nature? What consists of material nature? He's asking. But because trees also have soul, right, Maharaj?
Trees also have souls.
But they also are they material?
Prakriti is whatever is controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prakriti is under complete control of the Supreme Personality of God. That's what it means, actually. So you're under his control, I'm under his control.
But I'm part of the marginal energy, jiva, but I'm not part of prakriti, external energy, right?
Well, you are, but you're controlled, aren't you?
Yes.
So you are under the control of the Supreme Personality.
Then why it is my marginal energy? Jiva is marginal energy.
Well, because you can go both ways. That's why. Marginal means you can either become an animal something like that, or a tree, or you can become liberated and go back to Godhead.
So Lord, can I say like Jiva, just soul is only marginal
Yes.
energy. The body is external energy, Prakriti. Can I say it that way?
Well, it depends how you use the body.
Okay.
You know, the body can help you go back to Godhead, and the body can keep you in the material world by the decisions that you make.
Okay.
Right. So we're marginal. That means we can go this way or that way.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what marginal means.
Okay.
Okay. Valuable. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll stop there. Thank you very much. All the ways to see the Prabhupada.
Prabhupada ki
Hare
jai.
Krishna. Indeed.
Any other questions online? No questions. We'll see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.